They threatened to strip away everything my father had built, all over a tractor. When the HOA president barged onto my land, yelling and jabbing her finger at my father's prized possession like it was trash, I thought she held all the cards. But she had no idea that defending my father's legacy would teach her a lesson she'd never forget, one that had cost her dearly. Want to know how a quiet farmer outwitted the most arrogant HOA president around? Stick around, because what happened next isn't just wild. It's the most gratifying tale of justice you'll hear all year. Living on this stretch of land wasn't just about owning dirt. It was about honoring my father's dream. Each morning, as the sun peeked over our soybean fields, I could still hear his voice, recounting how he'd carved this farm from scratch. That Case tractor gleaming in the field? It was his final gift to me before he passed last fall. "Look after her," he'd said, voice raspy but firm. "She'll keep our vision alive." But dreams have a way of twisting into nightmares, especially when fancy new houses started sprouting up around our farm. I knew change was coming, but I never guessed how ugly it'd get. The trouble started small. The new homeowners association popped up quietly, basic rules about grass length and mailbox colors for the shiny suburb next door. It didn't seem to touch us farmers, or so I thought. Then came the day everything flipped upside down. It was a cool Saturday morning, and I was tinkering with Dad's tractor when I spotted them. Crisp, white envelopes shoved into every farmer's mailbox along our lane. Inside was a notice that'd shatter our peace. New HOA bylaws extension, agricultural equipment restrictions. Fancy terms about visual appeal and property value enhancement filled the page, but the message was blunt. They wanted our tractors gone or tucked away. They called them unsightly and a drag on the neighborhood's upscale vibe. My hands shook as I read it. This wasn't just about a machine. It was an attack on our whole way of life. That night, I called an urgent meeting at Betty's Cafe. The faces around the table were hard, third and fourth generation farmers who'd faced storms, pests, and bank loans. Now this. One old-timer, Tom, slammed his fist down. "My granddad survived the Great Depression. I'll be damned if some HOA steals what he made." We tried talking first, invited the HOA board to see our farms up close. Their president, Evelyn Carter, sneered back, "We don't need a lesson in dirt. We're here for progress." That word, progress, dripped with disdain, telling us all we needed to know about their real game. Weeks dragged on, and the pressure mounted. More letters came, each nastier than the last. Neighboring farmers got hit with fake citations, violations nobody'd ever heard of. Some whispered about selling, scared they couldn't win. But every glance at Dad's tractor steeled my resolve. This land, this life, it was our past and our future. I was about to find out just how far they'd pushed to rip it away. I was feeding the cows one morning when I saw her, Evelyn Carter, strutting across my lawn like she owned it. Her pale gray suit looked ridiculous against the mud and hay, but her glare was dead serious. She clutched a stack of papers like a sword. "This has gone on long enough," she snapped, her voice sharp enough to scatter my goats. "That thing needs to go. Now." She pointed at Dad's tractor like it was a junk heap, not the workhorse that had sustained this town for years. I took a slow breath, recalling Dad's advice about staying cool with tough folks. "Ma'am, this is my land, and that tractor's vital to my work." My calm only lit her fuse hotter. She shoved a paper in my face. "Do you even know who I am? I'm the HOA president. Our new rules say all farm gear's got to be hidden. That monstrosity's tanking property values by thousands." I let out a laugh. I couldn't help it, which turned her cheeks beet red. "With respect, my farm's been here 60 years. We're not under your HOA." That's when she dropped the hammer. "Oh, we are now. Your land's been redrawn into our district. All legal. The vote passed last month while you were too busy playing in the mud to show up." My stomach sank. Something stank here. "That's impossible," I shot back. "You can't just swallow private land without my say-so." She flashed a smile, a cold, predator's grin. "Check the county files if you doubt me. And start shopping for a shed. You've got 72 hours, or it's $500 a day in fines." I squared my shoulders. This tractor's not budging. Not now, not ever. Her face twisted into a snarl. "You farmers are all alike, clinging to the past, blocking progress. Do you know how many high-end homes we could fit here? How much value we'd bring if you just play ball?" That's when it clicked. This wasn't about the tractor. It was bigger. So that's it, I said, voice steady. You're after our land. She smoothed her expression fast, but I'd seen the truth flicker in her eyes. Don't be absurd. We're just upholding standards. But if you can't follow simple rules, maybe selling's your best move. I know some buyers who'd jump at it. I stepped closer, voice low. My dad poured his life into this farm. He died on this soil. That tractor's his last gift, and I'm not moving it. For me. She adjusted her jacket, that shark smile creeping back. We'll see. You don't know who you're up against. By the time I'm done, that tractor will be the least of your problems. Watching her stomp off, heels sinking into the earth, I knew the fight was on. What she didn't get was she'd just picked a war with the wrong farmer. Dad always said the toughest plants thrive in rocky ground, and I was about to prove it. Her threats weren't empty. Soon, it was a full-on siege. A tax assessor one day, a zoning guy the next. By week's end, I was under a microscope. HOA cronies camped out front, snapping photos of everything. My bank called. Someone was poking at my loan papers. My insurance got anonymous gripes. Even my grain buyer flagged a routine audit. They weren't just after the tractor, they wanted me gone. Then came the fake complaints. County inspectors swarmed daily, eyeballing drainage, noise, you name it. They found nothing, but the HOA kept coming. The local paper ran a splashy ad about modernizing our town, with my farm circled in red, labeled a relic. They even doctored a photo of Dad's tractor to look like a rust bucket. My temper hit the roof. The worst? They hit our customers. Letters went out county-wide, hinting our crops were tainted by old equipment. Sales at the farmer's market tanked. Betty called, frantic. They'd threatened to rezone her cafe's lot if she kept hosting our meetings. Our spaces were shrinking fast. Late one night, digging through county records, I struck gold. The redistricting petition was a sham. Half the signatures were from folks long gone, some dead for years. I took it to Laura, our councilwoman and Dad's old pal from the co-op. She scanned the proof, then grabbed her phone. That mystery buyer snapping up farms. Word is, they're unveiling a luxury project next week. But we just locked in a 6-month freeze on farm rezoning. Your timing's perfect. They're stuck with useless deals now. She handed me a file, clippings, deeds, photos. One stopped me cold. Dad snapped at a town hall months before he died, with a note scribbled beside it. Troublemaker. Knows too much about mineral rights. The developer? Run by Evelyn's husband, Mark Carter. The kicker? Their top investor was our county commissioner, the guy who'd spoken at Dad's funeral. They'd been cooking this for years. Buy cheap land, plant an HOA, stretch it with forged papers, and cash out. Too late for them. I had their fraud in my hands. Now, what did they do to bury it? I didn't wait long. Next morning, my tractor's tires were slashed, a note under the wiper. Accidents happen to hard-headed farmers. They thought I'd fold. Instead, they showed their panic. And panicked people screw up big. The HOA's big meeting rolled around, and I showed up early, a plain envelope tucked under my arm. The room buzzed, farmers, neighbors, even news crews. Evelyn stood at the podium, smug as ever. Before we vote on the emergency equipment rule, I called out, striding forward, you all need to see this. Silence fell as I pulled out my proof. Public records tell a hell of a story if you dig deep enough. I flashed slides on the wall, titles, bank logs, filings. 5 years, 28 farms across 3 counties, all forced out. Bought by shell firms tied to one outfit, Pinnacle Properties. Evelyn's face twitched. I kept going. Pinnacle's latest? A $50 million housing project on our land. The crowd stirred. And the CEO? Mark Carter, Evelyn's husband, who's been quietly grabbing foreclosed farms. Her color faded as I laid it bare. Fake petitions, dead men's signatures, illegal rezoning. Then the clincher. That tractor you despise? Dad didn't just leave me a machine, he left me proof. I hit play on a recording he'd made before he died. A whistleblower spilling it all. Harassment, cooked books, the works. The guy named names, dates, tactics, how they preyed on grieving families. Dad knew they were closing in, so he'd turned his last days into a sting, taping every dirty deal. My dad knew he was fading, I said, voice steady. He saw them circling, waiting to pounce. So he left me the truth. I played Evelyn's own voice, cackling about fleecing dumb farmers with loopholes. The room exploded, phones out, cameras rolling. She bolted for the exit, but state agents blocked her. Turns out, they'd been tracking Pinnacle for months, waiting for a break like mine. She spun back, furious. You don't get it, do you? The money we had lined up. Investors, deals. I grinned, thinking of Dad. I get it fine. I just saved our town from you. And that tractor? It saved every farm here. Farmers who'd lost land stepped up. A tractor parade rolled down Main Street. 50 strong, a sight that'd choke you up. Dad would have beamed. The probe peeled back their whole racket. Bribed officials, dummy firms, foreign cash. Our land's real prize? Rare minerals worth millions. Lawyers pitched in free, other counties dug in, and the governor pushed a new law shielding farms. Evelyn and Mark got cuffed, their empire trashed by the tractor they loathed. But the win wasn't their fall. It was our town taking back its heart. Every shady rule got axed, every stolen farm returned. That night, we partied in my field by Dad's tractor, now a badge of defiance. Today, the HOA's dust. Those nasty letters? Framed in our museum, beside the tale of how we beat greed. Dad's tractor's a landmark now. Liberty Tractor, folks call it. Evelyn and Mark face hard time. Our case cracked scams in 5 states. Their ritzy plans? Swapped for the Farmland Legacy Act. Funny thing, it all started because they thought they could scare a farmer into hiding his tractor. Dad always said the best wins come from standing firm, even alone. Guess he was right.